Hello, my name is Ryan Pham, and this is my presentation on AppArmor and HTTPS for class Cyber 4220 server system security. AppArmor. What is AppArmor? Well, it is a mandatory access control, or MAC for short, framework built into the Linux kernel. It restricts what programs can do, limiting their access to only what is absolutely necessary. The key strengths of AppArmor is its profile-based security. Profiles act as a set of rules that dictate what a program can access, such as files, directories, network ports, and by defining these profiles, administrators can minimize the risk of an application being exploited by some sort of malicious intent. AppArmor is especially popular within Linux distributions like Ubuntu, for example. It's built in and enabled by default because it starts automatically during a system boot. It's a reliable first line of defense for securing applications. Now, looking into its two primary modes, enforce and complain. In enforce mode, AppArmor actively restricts actions that go against the profile rules. For an example, if a web server tries to access a file and is not authorized to, AppArmor will block the request. This mode is ideal for production environments where strict control is necessary. On the other hand, we have complaint mode where it doesn't block unauthorized actions. Instead, it just logs the violations for administrators to review. And with this mode is useful for testing uh, testing profiles in a non-disruptive way. You can monitor how an application behaves, identify potential gaps in the profile, and refine it before switching to enforce mode. Hardening tips for AppArmor. First and foremost, define hardened profile rules. This involves customizing profiles to only allow essential actions. For example, if you're securing a database server, you can only restrict file access to only the database files, disable network communication unless it's necessary, and prevent servers from executing arbitrary commands. Um, Profiles should be as restrictive as possible while still allowing the program to function normally. And really, the goal is to just minimize the attack surface of the applications that are given. Next, we have enforcing complaint. We can use the complaint mode really strategically here. Start with complaint mode as mentioned earlier in the last slide when introducing AppArmor to your environment. This allows you to monitor application behavior without necessarily causing disruptions. Review the logs for policy violations, refine the profiles, and then once you're ready, you can then transition to enforce mode once you're confident in those rules that you have defined in the complaint mode. Lastly, we have auditing and monitoring. These are very essential. Regularly review AppArmor's log files, and you can typically find this in the /var/log/syslog or through the dmesh command. Look for policy violations and adjust profiles as needed. Monitoring ensures that your profiles remain effective even as those applications are updated or even new ones are added in the future. Now, going to HTTPS, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It's an essential protocol for secure communication on the internet. It builds on the HTTP no S by adding encryption to the data being transmitted, which the S stands for secure. Um, ensure that it builds on HTTPS as mentioned, ensuring that sensitive information cannot be interrupted with. It does this by using SSL or Secure Sockets Layer or TLS, which is Transport Layer Security. The process starts with a handshake where the server and client are established by exchanging encryption keys. Then all the communication between them is encrypted, making it unreadable to anyone who might intercept it. This encryption is especially important in today's world where cyber attacks like man in the middle attacks are common. And without the HTTPS, attackers could very easily intercept data and transmit it over HTTP and steal sensitive information, PII, SPII, etc. So as mentioned, we have HTTP and HTTPS, which the S just stands for secure. So take a look on how they two compare. With HTTPS, all data is encrypted using SSL/TLS, making it unreadable to anyone intercepting it. In contrast, HTTP transmit data in plain text, and because of this, it leaves it vulnerable to potential eavesdropping and tampering. Another key difference that we have is that HTTPS operates on port 443, while HTTP operates on port 80. Modern web browsers also display a padlock icon for HTTPS sites, saying that the server identity is verified, and that the connection is secure. On the other hand, HTTP does not verify the server's identity, which means users can unknowingly connect to malicious websites. Browsers often warn users that HTTP sites are not secured, encouraging them to avoid entering sensitive information. So, in summary here, HTTPS is the standard for secure web communication, while HTTP poses more significant risk in today's cyber threat landscape. So really go for HTTPS. Now, discussing how to harden IIS, which is Microsoft's web server software. First, implement SSL/TLS to encrypt data in transmissions, and this ensures that any data exchange between the server and client is protected from eavesdropping or tampering, just like the last slide. You can configure these in the ISS manager by obtaining a certificate from a trusted CA and binding it to your site. Second, you can also enforce strong authentication and access control. IIS supports Windows authentication, which integrates with the Active Directory to restrict access based on user credentials. You should also limit user permissions to only what's necessary. To only what's necessary, following the principle of what we call least privilege. Lastly, we have here security headers. Security headers such as content security policy and X-frame options can mitigate common web vulnerabilities. For example, content security policy prevents cross-site scripting attacks by restricting where scripts can load from. So, the Apache HTTP server, or simply Apache, is one of the most popular web servers in the world. It is an open source, highly customizable, capable of serving web content. It's often used to host websites, handle HTTP requests, and process client-server interactions. Apache Tomcat, on the other hand, is an open source application server, and this is more designed for running Java-based web apps, while Apache handles general purpose web serving. Tomcat focuses more on executing Java server pages, and is commonly used in enterprise environments for deploying those Java applications. As for some key hardening tips, first, we can use SSL and TLS again to secure communication, configure strong ciphering protocols. In the figure configuration file, you can also redirect HTTP traffic to HTTPS using Apache's .htaccess or Tomcat's web.xml file. Second, restrict directory access. Configure file permissions to limit access to sensitive files and directories. And lastly, make sure to separate the server and application roles. Avoid running other services like a database on the same server as Apache or Tomcat, as this could reduce the impact of a potential compromise. In conclusion here, Um, it's really, in conclusion, make sure to use HTTPS to have your encrypted information, and to overall just ensure that there's limited access to certain information. So here is my references, and thanks so much.